Hello everyone and welcome on this new episode of my masterclass podcast on healing wounds with the Osfour Self Coaching Model. In today's video, we are going to talk about compassion, which is the third posture that you need in order to use the Osfour Self Coaching Model. However, if you've got no clue what I'm talking about, you will find a link below this video that will explain you everything you need to know about the Osfour Self Coaching Model. Also, keep in mind that by the end of this video, you will find a magic question, and if you can send me an email with the correct answer, you will receive a free coaching session with me using the Osfour Self Coaching Model. Hello everyone and welcome back to this new episode of my masterclass podcast. My name is Sophia Osfour and I am a mentor, a life coach, a master practitioner in NLP, and the creator of the Osfour Self Coaching Model. So before we start, I just want to remind you a couple of things. First of all, this podcast is part of a bigger picture, and each month, I send on my YouTube channel a video where I use famous people and I apply the coaching model on them, and I explain you how I use it, what I do in details. But of course, the videos are quite, it's 1 hour long, I'm trying to make them shorter, but there's so many aspects of the model that I can't explain you in the video. So that's why I'm supporting those videos with this podcast. This podcast is posted every Wednesday. And all of this is also supported by a worksheet that you can download. So there's a link below this video that you can find, and you can also download that helps you to learn how to apply the model. And ultimately those podcasts are designed for me to explain to you details about the model that I can't do in the videos that I'm posting once a month. Okay guys, so what is compassion? So compassion is really the act of seeing that there is a problem and you're going to do what it takes to solve that problem. That's what compassion is. So let's imagine that I see a tree and that tree is dry and needs some water. So I'm going to go get some water and I'm going to feed, feed that tree. That is an act of compassion. Now, one of the reasons that I put that in the model is because we human beings are incongruent. You can say one thing with your mouth, but really mean another thing with your action. And one of the things that for me was, when I started to imagine this model 5 years ago, I was myself in a situation where I was stuck in a loop. I had a situation in my life and I couldn't let it go. I couldn't forgive. I could not let it go. I could not accept it. But, it was not because I was consciously not accepting it or because I was doing it on purpose. But what I realized is because, and this is where I really understood that a wound job is not to heal itself. That was my job. But, in a way, the wound was just calling upon me, upon feeling hurt about what happened, because I was hurt about what happened. But ultimately it kept me on the loop. And then I realized at some point that unless I make the decision to accept what happened and forgive and let it go, I can stay there forever. And so what I realized is that in the healing process there's a trap. And the trap is exactly that. When something has happened and it was being painful enough, I've said that millions of times and I'm probably going to say it again, is that your first impulse is not forgiveness and let it go, Especially when something was random, and fair, there's no justice to it, then it makes the healing process even harder. And so what I realized is that at some point you got to make the choice of compassion for yourself. You got to make the choice to choose healing. And that is the ultimate act of compassion, because otherwise there's a lots of traps along the way that could keep you in a loop. And for me, that's exactly what happened. I was kept in a loop, not because ultimately I was always someone who just wanted to heal, but I just didn't know how to. And so that's what kept me in the trap and in the loop where the wound was just keep on calling upon me and being like, look, this is what happened, and I'm, you know what I mean, like, right? So compassion is really a skill and a tool, I would say, not a skill, but like a very important tool in this model, because there is many steps into the process where unless you are really focused and reminded which direction am I going to take here, which is compassion, which is healing, okay, so you could get lost and stay stuck in the loop, and this is where, by the way, you have the victimized posture, someone who was hurt in a moment in time and now are just in that posture. And remember what I've said, in order for you to remain in a posture of the posture of a victim, you got to be hurt all the time. So that means that the wound is awake, is in a state of awakeness, and that's where it hurts all the time. And now you're a victim. In one hand, it provides you it gives you an amazing shield, because you're like, oh, listen, this is what happened to me. Don't ask me anything. Me, I'm hurt, and it's terrible, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, sure. But on the other hand, don't forget that long term, the price that you have to pay is that you have to remain in a constant state of pain. Now, nobody does this consciously. The only reason you do it, in my opinion, is because you don't know it. That's it, right? And so an act of compassion is very important there, because it is the conscious act of saying, I'm going to choose healing, even though there's every part of my being that wants to choose pain. Because sometimes pain is the only way to express your disagreement. Pain is the only way you could express that something happened, right? Something that was wrong happened. And so that is why it's part of the model. So once again, I said it at the beginning of this video, sometimes human beings are very incongruent. You can have situation where someone is going to say to you, you know what, I really, really, really want to resolve that problem. But then you see them doing things that actually feed the problem. I don't know if you've ever seen that. I've seen that a couple of times in my life, where you're like, I'm not sure that's the right course of things. Well, and the reason people are doing that is because, obviously they're not realizing it, but because as a human being, like I said, we can be very contradicting to ourselves. So to have a right course of line and a clear course of line is very important for this model. This model is designed for you to come in hurt and come out healed. That's the purpose of this model. And throughout the whole process, you have to keep in mind that goal. That's why, in the goal setting of the model, the first thing you're setting, and is already a goal that is already engraved in the model, is healing. That's what I'm going for. Now, if I had to relate, the compassion, with the videos, about Henry VIII and Catherine, what you're really seeing is, people who are not able to really to have a proper act of compassion for them, but who, for instance, for Catherine, takes the posture of a victim, and she does it all the way. So she's basically fighting, but she's not really strategic about her fight, because the more resisting she is about this whole thing, the more angry he's getting, and the more angry he's getting, the more aggressive and reckless he's becoming. And I think that an act of compassion that would have been amazing for Catherine, and not only for her but for her child, because the thing is that whatever Catherine is doing, Mary is copying, and we will see this in the next episode, is that she takes the posture of a victim, and finally, instead of discussing with this guy and say, okay, you want a divorce? And once again, we're not here to judge what another person has done in a situation we haven't been. I'm not saying that, but it's just interesting to analyze that, right? She could have been, okay, you want a divorce? Let's divorce, But it would have taken her from a situation that was probably very humiliating and painful, and for her to have an act of compassion and in a way control the situation, instead of letting her drag her all the way to, once this 6 years process, then when he was done and finally win, then send her off in some castle. And listen, I don't even want to imagine how those 6 years have been for her. I don't want to even imagine all the little things he's probably done just to piss her off, just to hurt her. I don't even know how she managed to function for 6 years in this castle, being with this man who now everybody knows he wants to divorce her because she can't give him a man heir, blah, blah, blah. Listen, she could have stopped that long time ago, and this would have been an act of compassion for her because it was most needed, and be more strategic about this whole thing. But most importantly, is that her act of compassion, instead of this posture of a victim, would have been an amazing example for her daughter, because the one person who learns and absorbs that victim posture is Mary. And, she absorbed it, she learned it, and she mastered it. And you will see this in the next episode of my video that I will post on Monday about her. But her life is kind of a testimony of, someone who, the prices there is when you are in a victim posture and you don't act compassionately with you. You don't do the things that needs to be done to heal, because listen, our healing as a person is our responsibility, I get it, sometimes people can hurt you badly and you just want to, whatever, you want to smash everything and be angry, of course, but ultimately you're still the one who carries the emotion, carries the anger, carry the resentment and all of those things. And so compassion is very important in that regard, because you decide for yourself where do you want to go, and that's what compassion is. So once again, the model all the way throughout this process invites you to operate at a much higher level. And don't forget that when you can have compassion for yourself, you can automatically have compassion for other people. And that is also something that's going to increase the quality of your communication as a person and your behaviors. The model, ultimately invites you to be this mother being, because for me, when I think about, benevolence, empathy, compassion, active listening, even the coach posture, it really makes me think of a mother. But, a mother at her highest level, at her highest mastery of how welcoming and warm and kind, and at the same time challenging a mother can be. And that is, I think a very powerful skills to have for all of us. Okay guys, so I hope you liked this video. Next week I will send a video about active listening, but until next week, all I'm gonna say to you is peace, love and light.